Hi everyone, welcome to today's live. I am Ronica Brown and I help business owners with tax planning so that they can save a lot of money on their taxes. This post is in follow-up. Let me fix my screen a little to block out all that extra light. So this post is a follow-up to my post regarding S Corporation that I posted a few days ago. But for today, I'm just going to cover why do people want to be S corporation. So it seems like everyone and their mama, everyone and their people, their folks wants to be an S corporation. But the challenge is that we as tax planners and tax providers face is like no one understands the rules of an S corporation. There are more compliance, there are more hoops to jump through. I posted that a lot of time people also lose deduction. Thank you guys for jumping on. You can also lose deduction just because once you go ahead and say that I'm going to get taxed as an S corporation, everything works differently on how you deduct. Your home office deduction change, your car expense change, like everything else changes. So is it worth the complexity? There's also requirements for reasonable compensation, and I'm going to post a next video on that. So is your S Corp status require all less complexity? The challenge that we face in the market is people are not compliant, and that's just unnecessary audit risk. Unnecessary audit risk because you don't want to do something that you know the IRS is going to be looking out for. Those things are just unnecessary. So we want to eliminate the unnecessary risk. And also we want to look at cash savings. So the complexity that S corporation adds to your business as a business owner and how much you're saving in cash, is it really worth it? So I'm going to go through and explain to you, why do people want to become S corporation? Why do us as tax providers recommend S corporation? How much are you saving? Are you really saving? So that you can at least understand the basic. My best clients, I can tell you, are people who understand basic things about taxes. They are super easy to work with. They're able to make decisions more quickly, and they know when they get a good tax saving strategy because they understand the basics. So my goal is to help you to understand the basics so that you can become awesome clients, if you're my clients to me or to your other providers, and so that you as a business owner, that you're educated so that you understand when you're not getting the best service and when you're not saving money, so that you can go out and seek other advice. So in order to understand how S corporation help you pay taxes, the key for you to understand is what type of taxes you pay as a business owner. Everyone thinks that, okay, I filed my return and I pay income taxes. No one really looks at the payroll taxes and so forth. But everyone in the United States of America, business owner or W-2 employee, there are actually two types of taxes that are paid. And I know that you guys hear that, you know, the middle class, they pay more of the taxes, you know, the working class people, they pay more taxes and all that stuff in the market, which is actually true. Why is this? Is just because of the type of taxes that you have to pay. So there are two types of taxes, and I'm going to try to write it on this board that everyone has to pay. Let's say, let me see what's the best way to describe this. Let's go back to when you're an employee. So at least I'm hoping that everyone at some point used to work for someone. So if you used to work for someone and you're getting a W-2, you're getting a paycheck, you actually, let me stop for this one, and move my screen so you can see my face and see my screen at the same time. Okay, cool. So when you have a job, so this is your job here, and you get paid on a W-2. There's two types of taxes. Can everyone see that? Is it too small? Am I writing too small? Let me write it bigger. So hopefully you can see that. That's your W-2. So on your W-2, you pay two types of taxes. You pay what's called a FICA tax, and you pay income tax. This tax is 15.3%. And this tax varies. This tax is based on your filing status. It's based on your filing tax status. You know, married, it's based on how much income you're making. So let's say that you pay, say, 25% for federal and state. If you're in a state that's that has an income tax, then you'll pay for both federal and state. So the combination of these two is pretty much why working people feels like they're paying so much in taxes. When you get a paycheck, you're like, oh my God, everything is gone in taxes, about 40%. So this is why when you have a job, it looks like you pay a lot in taxes. When you have a business now, things change. You can basically wiggle your way around this tax. You can basically find a way to get out of this tax and you only pay this tax. So this is one of the incentives that you have as a business owner to try to get rid of this tax. There's a problem with getting rid of this tax because if you're older and you want to collect Social Security, you have to pay into Social Security. So this tax covers your Social Security and your Medicaid. And Medicare tax, sorry. So if you don't pay into these taxes when it comes time to collect Social Security and when you're old, you won't have anything because you didn't pay in these taxes. So that's why this taxes is here. I don't care about your views on whether you're going to collect Social Security or what's your political view on if Social Security is going to be around when you're older or whatever your views are on that, but that's basically what this is. So when you're in business now, so this is you in business, this two type of tax still applies to you as a business owner. The only difference is it's now called self-employment tax. And we're gonna do SE to make it short. I don't wanna be spelling things wrong right now. So this is called self-employment tax, SE tax. And this is still the 15.3%. And this is your income tax. As I said, this is based on your filing status, married, single, yada, 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 how much money you're making, and you just pay a percentage of that. And let's call that 25%. So this is what most business owners are subject to still. The problem, when you become an S corporation, what an S corporation does is an S corporation basically remove this tax. So you're not subject to this anymore when you're an S corporation. So you're only subject to this income tax, right? So everyone will say this is a deal because I don't have to pay this 15.3%, right? I just have to pay this 25, 30, whatever your percentage is. Some people pay 15, whatever your percentage is. So that looks like a great deal, and it is. The only problem is when you become an S corporation and the S corporation, you're not subject to this tax. The IRS comes in and said, if you're an S corporation and you are working in your business, hello, thanks for joining. You're working in your business. What they say is that you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. And this is the way that the IRS collects their Social Security and their Medicare tax from you, by paying yourself a reasonable salary. So that's why the S corporation compliance becomes a problem, because they already mandate that if you're an S corporation, if you're in business and you're an S corporation, then you're not subject to the self-employment tax. You only pay income tax. But if you're the owner of the company and you're also working in the company, you become an employee of that company by S corporation law. You can't get out of that. If you're working in the business, I'm an accountant. If I'm working with my clients, that means I'm working in my business. So because you're working in your business, you're considered an employee for S corporation status. Now that you're considered an employee, the IRS says you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. I'll do a next post about this reasonable salary part and how you can determine that. but this is how they basically get you as an S corporation. So this is where a lot of people fail the S corporations test on the first time, because a lot of people, they're not paying themselves a reasonable salary. There's a specific line that it goes on in your tax return. So I can tell you, it's just an easy audit, and it's just an compliance issue that if you're S corporation, you want to make sure that you're paying yourself a reasonable salary. I will help to explain in the next video how you can get your reasonable salary low enough so that you don't have to pay a lot of the 15%. So this is pretty much what it does. So payroll tax compliance when it comes to Social Security tax and, you know, your FICA taxes, there are more scrutiny around it than income tax. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to reduce your income tax, but when it comes to the Social Security taxes, if you're making anywhere, if you're paying yourself anywhere between, I think the maximum is 100 and, how much is it? I think it's 128,000 for 2019. I don't remember, but if you're paying yourself below up to this point, so this is when you're at risk for this reasonable compensation. So what normally happens is, from what I've seen, if you're S corp and you're not paying yourself reasonable compensation, say you're taking draw and things like that, when you get audited, what they do is they basically, what's the word I'm looking for? They basically reclassify your draw and your distribution, your dividends, whatever you want to call it. You just paying yourself and not running it through payroll. They just basically call it your salary and then assess, you know, the penalties from not filing a W-2, penalties for late filing, and all those penalties comes along with this. So the risk here is, the first requirement is you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. You know, the government always want to get their part, so anyways, to recap, an S corporation, it helps you to avoid 15.3% self-employment tax. So this is when you're an S corporation. So it gets you to avoid this. So you only pay income tax. So you pay income tax, which is, we're going to call it 25%. For this example. So since S corporation helps you to eliminate that tax, the IRS comes in and said that if you're working for your company, you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. And this is also why if you're married, you don't want to add your spouse to your S corporation as well, because if they're not working in the business, there's like no incentive whatsoever to add them, so you don't want to do that. So the IRS come in and requires you to pay yourself a reasonable salary. I can explain what this means after, but what the reasonable salary does, it brings back this 15.3%. It brings it back because you have to basically pay yourself on a W-2, and all W-2 income is subject to this 15.3%. So the trick here is how it basically helps you to save money is you have to find the balance between, is basically how to determine a low compensation. So that's how you basically save money as an S corporation. Is we want you to be compliant first. For all my clients, they have to pay themselves a reasonable salary, else, you know, they get like a compliance email that I've already consulted them about it, because it's just a risk that everyone knows about, and it's just an easy audit. And I don't like easy audit. I like the IRS to work for their money. But anyways, so how you save money in S corporation is trying to figure out what's the point between 0 to 128K that you can pay yourself. If your business is profiting way more than this, can you pay yourself 50K? Can you pay yourself 75K? So it's you basically determine what's the amount that you're gonna pay yourself between this amount to make you save money. The closer you get to this point, you're not saving any money because you know, it's the 15.3%, you know, you're trying to avoid. Before we decide to put anyone in S corporation, we see what all the deductions that they qualify for first, because a lot of times, you know, if you want to put a lot of money in like your 401k, if you want to hire your children, you know, 401k contribution, or if you want to put a whole lot of money into STEP and so forth, then a lot of times it becomes challenging being an S corporation. Right? Because if you're paying yourself a low compensation, then, you know, you can't really max out these plans. So you have to find a balance between what are all the other deductions that I'm qualifying myself for, and what are all the other savings to see if you're really saving money. And I can tell you that a lot of people with S corporations, they're not really saving money. They're just, there's a lot of people who are saving money. There are a lot of S corporation business owners that I still recommend S corporation. There are a lot of people who are saving money. There are people that are not saving money, and there are people that are not compliant. So if you're not compliant, meaning that you're not paying yourself a salary, that means a W-2 income. So this is the first compliance that you need to jump through. So this is the first thing you need to fix in your S corporation. So start paying yourself a salary. I'm going to discuss reasonable salary in the next post so that you can understand how you can lowball your salary and make it legitimately a low number. But you have to get this part fixed first, because this is where it's just an easy audit. Most of the salary cases for S corporation are actually have to do with attorneys and doctors. They're notorious to take the IRS to court, so a lot of the cases are them, you know, paying themselves too low of a salary or no salary, and most of the times those cases don't work out in their interests. But what's my point here? I don't know what is my point again. My point is, if you're not paying yourself a reasonable salary, start doing so. I will go ahead and post to see how you can pay the lowest amount so that you can still get some of the 15.3% tax savings, and also be compliant, because you want to be compliant when you're doing your taxes, because you don't want unnecessary audit. If they're auditing you for some other big stuff, then sometimes it's worth it. But this reasonable compensation is just not worth it, because the amount of late filing fees, penalties, and so forth is just not worth it. But anyways, that's it for today. Hopefully you understand the type of taxes that a business owner pay. And as I said, that you're subject to two types of taxes. You're subject to self-employment taxes, which I'll call SE taxes here. And that is a 15.3% up onto the first 128K that you make. And then you pay your income tax. And your income tax is based on how much income you make and your filing status, but we'll say 25% for now. So when you're an S corporation, the S corporation basically helps you to eliminate this tax, but you still have to pay yourself a reasonable compensation. And it's the difference between your W-2 income. It's the difference between your 128K and your W-2 income. This is where you get the tax savings. Hopefully that makes sense. Have a good day. Like, love, share. Let me know your comments, and I will post the next video on this. Take care.